What's good, everybody? It's D Brown Shanghai, and right now we're coming up on the end of what has been a very eventful decade for NBA 2K and NBA 2K fans alike. And looking back at the beginning of the decade feels like 30 years ago, so I wanted to go back and take a look at a bunch of the forgotten features that fell by the wayside during the years. Now, most of the things on this list will be from the earlier half of the decade because, of course, you remember most of the things from like 2K16 and 15 because that wasn't that many years ago. And of course, we're still counting NBA 2K10 even though it was released in 2009. But with that being said, let's get right into this. So as soon as I finished recording this video, it popped into my head that I didn't feature the NBA 2K dunk contest. Originally, what the NBA 2K dunk contest was like you go to a court, it would be DJ Bobbito Cucumber Slice, Bobbito Garcia from NBA Street, he was the commentator there too. And you would be in Rucker Park with a crowd, and they had signature introductions for all of the players. But the way the controls work, where you move the analog stick in a combination of directions, and you had like a modifier button and everything, and there were props, and the analog stick was how you did your dunks. And it was great. It's awesome. It's good fun. But then they took it out of the game, and when they brought it back, it was garbage. I'm not gonna lie. When they brought it back, it was basically Guitar Hero NBA 2K Dunk Contest Edition. And they've since changed it from the Guitar Hero thing, but the thing that they changed it to is it's really no better. I don't understand why they stripped the old system, but the old dunk contest, I'm gonna include that as an honorable mention. It should be in the list, but I just forgot about it. At number 1, we have the DLeague in NBA 2K10. Now, we're all aware that the first My Player mode was in NBA 2K10, so it was a nice little touch that they had that if you weren't playing well while you were in the NBA, or if you didn't play well enough to make it onto an NBA roster, you was going to the D-League, bro. You was going to go in the D-League, and you'll have to climb and work your way out of the D-League. And even though I never personally got to play in the D-League myself, I have friends who have told me their stories. Like, one of my friends said he never made it out of the D-League in NBA 2K10. I find that that's absurd to me because another one of my friends purposely tried to play himself into the D-League, but he would never get sent down. They had 16 D-League teams in the game, and even outside of my career, if you went to the association, you can make like call-ups and edits to your, whatever was your NBA team, you can make edits to your D-League roster and call up people and send people down and whatnot. It might not sound like much, but I think that's a nice little touch to add some depth to the game. So at the number 2 spot, we have 2-on-1, and we're gonna go with cheat codes / special teams. Cheat codes were way more prominent early in the decade. More games have gone towards like not even including them, but 2K was one of those games that had cheat codes. They had cheat codes that would unlock shoes, jerseys, they would like unlock game effects. You could get like dunk packages and whatnot. And of course they had the special teams. You could unlock the VC team that was full of 2K developers and like Mike Wang and those guys. You'd unlock the virtual concepts team. And even outside of the cheat codes, 2K always had special teams in the games. Like I know we all remember the celebrity teams. There was 2K, I think 10. 2K10 had the draft class teams and the eras like the teams, the 70s, 80s. But in more recent years, pretty much all of that has disappeared. Sure, we have like retro teams and stuff now, but you don't really see like the celebrity teams. You don't see like the more wacky things that we used to get in the games. And we definitely not gonna compare locker codes and cheat codes because one of them was meant to add like an element of fun and just cool things to the game, while the other one is just for, well, I'm not, this is not a negative video, so I'll say that locker codes are not the same thing as cheat codes. Moving on. At the number 3 spot, we have my favorite, and I say that 100% sarcastically. We talking about the NBA 2K Insider. Now, some of you may have been reminded of this guy because of my recent 2K11 series, but for those of you who haven't been watching, y'all probably forgot all about the NBA 2K Insider. This guy who y'all know exactly who I'm talking about. If you sat in the menus of the old 2K My Players for too long, this dude will pop up and start talking your head off because he was supposed to be your mentor, when in actuality, he was just a tool to try and immerse you into the game. Even when you tried to leave, he would tell you, better yet, I can show you better than I can tell you.
Do you know how Tim Duncan became the great player that he is today? He followed his own advice. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. Are you sure you want to take a break from your career?
And I'm not going to sit here and pretend he was this horrible feature added to the game, like it was just all bad. He had some pretty interesting things to say. And, even though some of it became repetitive and everything, you got some pretty cool stories and some quotes out of it. Just think, how many times have you heard your friends or just your peers bring up that Kevin Durant hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard quote, like there's some kind of incredible philosopher. No, bro, we know where you got that from. I played 2K10 too. And the fourth forgotten feature we're going to talk about comes in NBA 2K11. In NBA 2K11 in the My Player mode, you could do these things called quick pickup games. And this was like, if you think about it, it was kind of, I like to say that 2K13 was the first version of Park because you could play with your friends and play against other people. But this was kind of Park because you could play a game of 21 with some randoms. They would just take your My Player and put you in a random game of 21, and you earned like skill points and everything from it, and it was online, and it was in the menu. It was like matchmaking. You didn't have to go nowhere. You didn't have to run around no park or nothing. But this is a feature that I rarely hear anybody talk about. I don't know if it's because like nobody like thought about going to it, because I remember specifically, I didn't even go to it probably till like halfway through the year at 2K11 because I didn't know what it was. They never had like, nobody ever told you what it was. There wasn't a tutorial to tell you. I just happened to go there and click on it, and I was like, yo, what the? I could play against other people in a game of 21? But yeah, that's most definitely one of the most forgotten game modes that I think of. Moving on to number 5, we have the 2K Railmaker. Now the 2K Railmaker was a tool that you use that you could import like your saved replays and your saved clips, and then you could put them all together, and it was like 2K, it was an editing software within NBA 2K, and you could add all these like crazy effects and sounds and just like make like a highlight reel or a mix if you wanted to. And I think after 2K13, they just took it out, never to be seen again. But back then, for kids who didn't have like, you don't got an Elgato, you don't have any kind of capture cards or anything, but you want to make like a video, maybe you want to make some clips to show your friends or something, this was a pretty cool thing. And it was free. You could upload your clips directly to YouTube. And for every kid who was playing 2K at the time and was on YouTube and watching like Chris Move and all of those early guys, we all saw our opportunities like, yo, could this be me? Could I be a YouTuber? When you saw the 2K Railmaker, you thought like, this was all you need. So the 6th forgotten feature that we're talking about is the Legend Showcase from NBA 2K12. We've talked about this on this channel before, but it was a DLC that added a bunch of legends into the game, and you could take these legends into Times Square in front of a big crowd. You could play historic 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s. They added horse. I think there was a dunk contest. But looking back, this was one of the more cooler things that 2K has ever done, because we don't really see 2K do DLC. Nowadays, we just get patches that should have been in the game when it released. But anyway, this was pretty cool because we had never seen nothing like this before. They changed the graphics in it a little bit, but it was more of like a comic book type visual thing. But yeah, the fact that I already know there are going to be some people in the comments who be like, I never knew that, the Legend Showcase thing. I never even heard of that before. I know it's going to be some people like that. So going off that alone, this is one of the more forgotten features that we've had in the past decade. Now, moving right along, we have NBA 2K13's Nike ID. This was one of the like trailers or one of the features that 2K was like pushing as like something to sell the game. Like I remember they had like this elaborate little trailer with like Blake Griffin, because that's when they had the Nike Hyperdunk 2012, and they had like, you could put the chip in your shoe and download the app, and it would give you all of this information. And this is like in real life, it would give you all this information. But they implemented that in the game with like the Nike Plus like vert thing. It would tell you how high your players jumped. But in this game, in 2K13, they gave you the option, right? You create the shoes in the game. They would make them in real life. Nike would make them in real life, and they would send you an email, like if you were going to buy the shoe or whatever, and you could have the shoe that you made in the game shipped to you in real life. It was probably hella overpriced, I never tried that because I already know, bro. I was not breaded. I was a kid. Where I'm going to get $180 plus from? But it was a pretty cool feature, and if you were one of the people who, you were financially blessed enough to do that, and it was something that you were into, that was probably it was probably very cool for you. And I think one of the rep rewards in one of the past 2Ks of the past 2 years, maybe 19, it might have been 19, it might have been 18, but the thing called like My Nikes, I think that's what it was like, basically this again, but they just changed it. You could get like Nikes if you hit one of the rep rewards. And the 8th forgotten feature that we're going to talk about comes from NBA 2K15, but it was only on the last gen consoles, meaning Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. And that game mode is 2K Heroes. 2K Heroes was this thing that they had Shaq, Kevin Durant, Curry, and a bunch of other legends and NBA players. They picked their team, right? They picked their 5 that would be their ideal 5. And you got to use these teams and play up against other people. And the way it worked was like whichever legend or NBA player's team accumulated the most like points or wins, like because you played against other people, and whoever's team accumulated the most wins within a certain amount of time, like the time they allotted, 2K would make like a donation to the charity of their choice, which is pretty cool. I thought that was nice. It's weird that they didn't include that in the next gen version. I'm pretty sure people on 2K15 on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, like, I'm sure they would have had some fun with that. I would have played it. But last gen NBA 2K15 was the first and last time we ever saw 2K Heroes. It deserves to be on this list. And the ninth forgotten feature that we're going to talk about is from NBA 2K14, and that is the EuroLeague teams. 2K14 featured like full EuroLeague rosters. I don't know if it was every EuroLeague team, but it was a good bit. And it's funny to go through and look at it now, because back then, you know, you might not have known people in there, but looking at it now, there's a bunch of people who like ended up coming to the league like later. For a lot of European players, coming to the NBA isn't the end all be all. Some of them prefer to just stay home and just let their career ride out like that. And so we see people end up coming like later when they decide to. Like you'll see on the rosters that I'm going through. But it was a cool little feature to have in 2K14, and I'm sure some people got a good use out of it. I didn't really play it like that, but I'm sure some people did. Now moving on to the last on the list. This one is kind of weird. Now this one is kind of strange, and I'm gonna ask y'all to bear with me, because it wasn't in a 2K game, but it is a 2K game of sorts. So I'm talking about NBA 2K My Life, the Facebook game, and this was for NBA 2K13. Now this was it was a very weird game. Y'all know how Facebook has those games. I don't know if they still do, but they used to have like all of those games. People be sending you hella invites to games, and it'll piss you off. But anyway, NBA 2K My Life was like, you could connect your real NBA 2K13 profile, and they would put your My Player into this little cartoonish Facebook game. You like tried to live an NBA life. I'm using air quotations here, where you build a house, you build like a court to practice, and you try to become like a bigger star. I'll have footage on the screen because it's so hard to explain, because I don't even remember. Like, I played it. I'm not gonna lie. I got no shame in my game. I played it. I was trying to get that VC, and back then 2K was on they was on the wave of trying to get like all of their social medias connected, so they will reward you for doing that. Like, you got dunk packages. If I remember correctly, there was a dunk package you could only get from playing the Facebook game. Dog, really? And while you won't see anybody lobbying for 2K to bring this little game back, it was still a cool little feature for people who didn't have the money to put into the game like me, and I was trying to get VC, you know, and I didn't want to spend VC on like dunk packages and stuff, because you're trying to get your player high. So a free dunk package that came with like hella flashy dunks and everything, as well as like unlocking gear and accessories for your My Player for free in a little game that you could just like, you could play it while you're actually playing 2K. But NBA 2K My Life was yet another feature forgotten to the decade. So let me know down below in the comments, what's some features that I didn't mention that you think should have been on the list? I know I forgot some things, but let me know down below in the comments, what are some things that you think people forgot about? And if you like the video, of course, like it and share it with your friends. But that's all I got for y'all, man. I'm gonna go play the best 2K of the decade. I'm gonna let y'all guess which one we talking about here. But like I said, like the video, share it with your friends, and as always, I'm D Brown Shanhan, and I'm up out of here.